Salesforce and MuleSoft are just two of the biggest names in cloud computing. The latter was acquired by Salesforce last 2018, which makes both an even better platform to support business in accessing servers and databases online. I'm Joel, and join me for today's tutorial where I will be showing you a simple MuleSoft to Salesforce integration. Have your notes ready and let's begin.
First things first, open your AnyPoint Studio and select your workspace. On the menu, select File, then Mule Project. A window will pop up where you will input the project name, Mule-Salesforce-Application. Select Runtime Version, in this case 4.3.0, and select file location where you want to save the project. We will use our default workspace for this video. On the right side of the studio, you can see the Mule palette containing Mule components. For our sample, select the HTTP listener component and drag it into our canvas in the middle part of Studio. Rename the flow by clicking on it. We'll name it Retrieve-Salesforce-Account-Flow. Click the HTTP component in the canvas and you will see its properties on the Properties Editor tab below. Change display name to describe what this component is for. Let's name it HTTP listener-get:/get accounts. You will need to set up the connector configuration by creating a new config for HTTP component. Click the Add icon. Let us keep the default host and protocol value. Change port back to default value of 8080. Assign /Salesforce as our base path. Test this configuration by clicking the Test Connection button. On the right side of the studio, you can see the Mule palette. Type Salesforce on the search box. A list of available Salesforce will be shown. From here, we want to use Salesforce-query for your sample project. Drag this component in the canvas. Click the component again for its properties to show below. Change display name and configure the connector by hitting the Create button. There are several connection types available for Salesforce connectors, but we will use the basic authentication for this example. Input your Salesforce credentials and security token and click OK, then save our project. We can also test our connection by clicking the Test Connection button before hitting OK. We'll notice that there is still a red quotation mark on the Salesforce component, and this indicates that something is missing in our properties. Click the Salesforce component and we will see that we are still missing on a Salesforce query. For this example, our query will be select billing city, billing country, billing postal code, billing state, billing street, and name from account. Note that unlike in SQL, we cannot use asterisk for Salesforce queries to query all fields, as it won't work. Salesforce queries need fields to be precisely defined. After filling in the missing Salesforce query, you can choose to save files or continue adding your next component. From the Mule palette, drag a transform message component to the canvas. Rename it as Salesforce Response to JSON format, as we will convert the query result into JSON. change the default output type from application/Java into application/JSON. Delete the curly brackets and simply put payload. Save your project to apply changes and deploy. From the console, we can see how the deployment went. This means that the project was successfully deployed. Proceed to the testing tool. On this example, we'll use Advanced REST Client. You can also use other testing tools like Postman, SoapUI, and more. In the URL, type in your HTTP protocol followed by hostname, port number, base path, and the defined HTTP path as seen on the text on the screen. Select the correct HTTP method, which is GET, and hit Send. Notice that we receive a successful response status code 200. On the Source View tab, we can see that we are able to pull records from Salesforce, and it is shown in JSON format. We can log into Salesforce and compare the actual results. Going back to our Anypoint Studio, stop the application. Try to create a record in Salesforce using MuleSoft. Next, drag an HTTP listener component on our canvas and below the existing flow to create a new flow. Configure the component by using the same HTTP listener config, but assign path as /create_account. On the Advanced tab, define the method as post. Drag a Salesforce create component into the canvas right after the HTTP listener. You can change the display name to make it easy to understand what the component intends to do. On the type field, put the object name where we intend to add a record. In this example, we'll still use the object account. Add the transform message component right after Salesforce create component to again transform the response into JSON format. Do the same steps as how we did earlier. Don't forget to save the project and deploy. By checking our current account records, we now have 12 entries. Once the project is successfully deployed, head to our testing tool. Using the same URL, use create account instead of get account and change method to post. In the request body, input our record to create. Make sure it is in JSON format, then hit Send to create. A response will show that we have successfully created the record in Salesforce and was provided a record ID. To check, go to Salesforce and refresh the accounts page. We can see that we now have 13 entries. Here, we can also see that the one we created is actually recorded in Salesforce. We can also use our query getAccount endpoint to pull the latest records from Salesforce. Well done! You have now triumphantly integrated MuleSoft to Salesforce.
Hope you were able to take notes of our session today. You don't have to be tech savvy in order to master the integration between MuleSoft and Salesforce. Our guide should help you step by step on how to successfully integrate those two platforms and help your business store data in the cloud. That's about it for today. Thank you for joining and hope to see you in the next session.